thank you to come. So just reminding everyone that we are going to be recording this meeting. So today we are going to talk about two sections, is permanent freeness and serenity. So our facilitators will be Alexander Steiner and Jeffrey Lloyd. So it's with you guys.
Hello, nice to be here with you, and I hope to help and to, well, let's start, Jeffrey.
Yeah, hi everyone. It's nice to be with you guys as well, and we're reaching the end of the book, right? The last few sections, and they're obviously really, I suppose, important in sections. They all are, but this is perhaps the pinnacle in terms of the challenges as we can face in this intraphysical life. And so the challenge is, you know, the first thing, become intrusion free, permanent free, and the next one, the serenity. And so that's what we wanted to discuss today, to see, you know, your thoughts, your understandings, your interpretations, and contemplations. And also, just before we started recording the session, we were talking with Alexander about a little bit of the history of Alexander with the book, and obviously myself with the book as well. But more interestingly, Alexander with the original Portuguese edition of the book. And I know, Alexander, I think you've got some thoughts and reflections that you'll perhaps like to share at first with people as well.
Wow, okay. I was asking everybody if they remember what they were doing 27 years ago, exactly at this time. And I said, because I remember what I was doing. I was typing this book. We have to send this book to the prints on the early beginning of January. So it's something like 3 or 4 of January or 1994. So in the last days of December, we were typing this book, me and Waldo, and Wagner also. We were typing the book, and we spent 24 hours a day typing the book because we had a lot of things to change. And every page we printed and said, oh, now it's done, this page, this chapter. Waldo got the page, oh, let me see, and was writing. And we said, oh, stop, don't write anything else. And he, oh, just a little. The idea is gonna be better if I write this way. But we have to finish the book. Hold on. We have time for that. And I was always writing something. So it was a great experience.
It's funny when you say that, because I'm just remembering translating, like we started translating about 20 years ago. Oh no, 17 years ago, I think, kind of a thing. And just that, what you're saying about a little bit more, go again, write it a little bit better. It was like that when you're translating, like you're revising it and revising it and revising the same chapter again and again. And even now I can see things, but maybe we should have done it a little bit differently here. It's the same kind of process, but to get to the essence of the ideas, I think it's the right thing to do. I think you've got to keep refining and keep going a little bit deeper. And perhaps it's like that with ourselves as well, you know, like keep pushing to refine. And perhaps that's a lot to do with what permanent freeness, intrusion freeness, and serenity is about. Just keep striving to refine yourself in different circumstances and different lives.
Yeah.
Alex, have you got any thoughts? Like, I know you've been reading the chapters again recently and things. Was there any thoughts that came to mind that you wanted to share, or any perceptions that you had?
Well, reading this book again, these chapters, brought some ideas, and what I'd like to share is like the first thing is the chapter 683, Test of Your Willpower. And I think this chapter, I was thinking, why did he put this chapter right in this section. Because if you don't have a willpower, if you don't use it, you can't do what you want. So if you want to do anything in this life, you should read this chapter, in my opinion, and reflect and think about how is my willpower and what do I need to improve it? How can I improve it?
Do you think this chapter is the basis for the 1 more year of life technique?
Yeah. Yeah. This
That's
is what
an interesting one, right?
Someone's life directions. The willpower.
Exactly, and generating the impetus and the possibilities for yourself to change, right? To accelerate the rhythm of your evolution, to not procrastinate, to not delay priority things.
Yeah, and it's something that I have to say, but at that time, I didn't understand why this chapter was in this section. And now I see so clear, it's like, yes, it has to be here, this chapter.
It's like bite sizes. Take 1 year as like a bite and then do it. And it's manageable, it's attainable. It's not like a massive thing that is too big to wrap your head around and then go again and go again. Has anyone part of the team here, have any of you done the 1 more year of life technique? And if so, what were your experiences? How did you find it?
I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm curious to know if someone did it. So,
has anyone done it? No. Oh, well, maybe we've got our next task on our hands.
Just Silvana did.
No, I didn't.
No?
You didn't?
No.
Here.
No.
I thought
you were on mute. But I'm curious to know someone that did it and what was the experience like.
Yeah. I know there's a whole group dedicated, there's a whole group of people dedicated to doing it. I haven't done it myself in a structured way, like really planned and committed to the process, but maybe I'll feel that pressure or that need at some stage.
it's an opportunity now because we are starting the new year. So
True,
yes,
I know.
absolutely.
And there is a course, the last course that the Ação Integrada will be about this technique. Yeah, the 1 year technique. They're going to be giving that the last course of the year, 27th of December. They're going to be giving this course.
Interesting. So there you go, Silvana. You can find out, because I know there's a whole team dedicated to doing it. So it's
yeah,
an interesting one.
And what I think that this chapter about your willpower, you should read it. If you want to do this technique, you should read first this chapter about the willpower. Because if you really understand what he's saying, and try to make the compare with yourself and what he's saying, and see, okay, what do I need to change? What do I need to do different to improve my willpower? I think the technique will be in another level.
And Alex, I know you've been involved in a course which is called ProAd, so in English ProAd, and it's a course to help individuals accelerate themselves in achieving intrusion freeness or permanent freeness. So I'm just sort of curious, what sort of, if there's any any reflections that you have from your experience over that with that course over the last 7 or so years?
7 years.
You know, like in terms, because the process being, right, let's talk about epicon and being bait and developing more parapsychism and off EX and intrusion free, permanent free, and then on to serenity and the like. So is there anything that you made you remember much of Proad when you were reading these chapters?
Yeah. When I was reading this chapter, I said, well, this should be for life. Just like some parts of other chapters that are highlighted, I think this should be for life. If you put this in your life, and if you bring this idea for yourself and practice it every day, for sure you're going to have different results. You're going to improve yourself. I'm pretty sure about it. Doing right now, thinking about these things. The other one, and about the Proad. After I'll talk a little more about the Proad, okay?
Okay.
But the other part that I think that is special for me was about the attitudes for consciential epicentrism, 671. When those attitudes, 3 advanced intimate attitudes to requests, you no longer ask for yourself about your weak traits and the faces. At the end of the day, each day, in a rigorous self-critical examination, you exteriorize your energies to everyone you have contact. You may think, that's not so hard to do, but do this every day for the rest of your life. This is more than Penta.
Interesting, Alex. What would you see as being the differentiation from Penta? Because it evokes a lot of the idea of Penta.
Yeah.
What would you see as being the difference?
It's because this changes yourself and the way you have the conflicts you have every day. Sometimes in Penta, if you don't have someone in mind, it's easy to exteriorize to the helpers and to exteriorize the whole world. Oh, I want everybody to be okay. But that's not a problem. The problem is the guy next to me. The guy, I had a problem this day. I had a conflict. So this changed the mood, the way you are. The next time you're going to find this person, how you will be? You will fight again, you will have a conflict again, or you find another way. Oh, I needed to change my way of approach this guy or this person.
It's interesting, right? Like it makes me think about, and this is mentioned a lot in the chapters, about grounding yourself in reality, like having your feet on the ground. Like there's a couple of times in the chapters, feet on the ground and your mental soma in the cosmos, right? And this exercise that you're talking about here reminds me of that. I'm just wondering for everyone else, guys, what are your thoughts? What stood out for you in the chapters, and what do you think about these?
I just want to do a comment about that because it's so synchronic with what happened to me today. I went there and I start to talk with a lady that has a store close to our house. And I was talking to her and I have the idea of exteriorize to her and to her store. Just free, like give something. Even if the person doesn't know, just give him. It was not because she needed. And so I said, wow, I don't do it that very much. And then you come with that today. So I think if it's the inspiration come to us, as I could see in several meetings we having when we read, and all the inspiration we have. So I don't know if anyone else had also those kinds of inspirations, but it's so synchronic, it's so good. So I want to share it.
And Magali, I think that what you're saying has relation with the serenity, the anonymate. When you're in a place, you try to help, you exteriorize your energies, and nobody knows.
Maybe was an inspiration because of the chapter. Maybe I got a little thought, and the thought was exactly that. You can do more of that. You know, you can do freely. Even if the person doesn't need, you can just give.
Magali, I
think, can I?
Oh, sorry, Regina.
Okay, maybe because of the delay, I am a little,
it's okay.
Later. Okay, so I think these chapters helped us to open our vision, to amplify our vision about maxi fraternity. For example, when Alexei said about this exteriorization in your painter every day for the people that we met in the day, or people that we have some questions. So I think this is there are chapters that helped us to develop, to evolve our sense of maxi fraternity. There is a step to step. Now, in this chapter, for example, that Alexei mentioned, 683, Waldo, it's for me, it's as an invitation to develop our possibilities, our capacities, because in these chapters, what I notice is that because of our intraphysical life and our small way to see the things, we are not developing our capacities, our potentialities. So I think this is a kind of invitation to discover more about ourselves, that we can do more, as Magali, for example, told now. We can exteriorize our energies in places or for people that we haven't thought about yet. Nah? So that but it's not because we can't, but because we don't think about this. So it's, for me, an invitation to amplify, to broaden our capacity, our view, our comprehension or understanding about maxi fraternity and universalism. I think this is in this way for me, these chapters. And also that, okay, there are, it's a condition that we need to do something every day to achieve this condition. That is a thing, but anyway, it's a condition that we can reach if we really do something for this. Yeah,
I agree.
I was
Rashika,
just going
to say something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just going to share that I had the exact very similar experience as Magali today. I was in a cafe with two friends, and we were talking and having a conversation, and normally I am kind of focusing on what the person is saying and everything, but today I had the same feeling, like all of a sudden I just said, oh, I need to exteriorize my energy, just exteriorize my energy to the people who are talking to me, but also to the place that I was in. So Magali, same experience that I had today, and like Regina, I realized that it's not something that I do consciously every day, because like I said, if you're in a conversation with someone, you tend to be focused on what they are saying. And I think it has also a relationship to multidimensionality and multidimensional awareness as well. And I thought that's a theme that came up in these chapters for me as well. So I thought that was interesting.
Just to reinforce it, this was an instruction I had extra physically as well. Like, exteriorize your energy more, put your energy more, calm things down, calm situations, put your energy, like, don't be passive, don't be, think about it more and engage in the existential process. I just wanted to read out Benoit, I suppose I could say, if I'm trying to be French, his question. So exteriorize energy to everyone in your day, even if it's painful, is in his opinion, is kind of going counter yourself, against yourself. Maybe it's better to focus on personal evolutionary path to stop having bad interactions. What do you think? Alex, what's your feedback there on that?
I think this is
anyone?
This is the point. It's something that goes. Sometimes for those that are not just like me, a true intrusion-free person, we have some conflicts with other persons. That's normal, because it's our animal part, I think, that reacts in every day, in our contacts with people, when we meet someone, when someone disagrees from us. And we have to change it, find a way to change this way to react. Act and not react. So
the instinctive animal stuff, yeah, like contain it, but like re-educate yourself so it actually ceases to be there.
Yeah, and if you try to do it every day, to exteriorize your energies to everyone you had some problem, even if you don't have to everyone, like we're having this contact now. In the end of the day, now it's okay. That's real nice to be here. In the end of the day, if I mentalize your faces, oh, Jeffrey, Magali, Anna, Michiko, Regina, everyone that's here, and exteriorize my best energies, everything around me is going to be better.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, Sylvan.
Like, is there any risk when you do it? Like, I'm asking because I'm not talking about Penta, because I know Penta is something different. Yeah. I'm talking about, it happened to me years ago, before it started Penta. I started doing this kind of exteriorizing energy. I started doing energy work like EVs, but then once I felt that the room I used to do it was full,
Yeah.
So is there any risk that if you do like something that every day. It's not in penta time, but somewhere different. Like when I start working, I work from home, I have my office, and then I was thinking about doing it before starting. But then I thought that, what if I attract those kind of, you know, I'm not sure how to say, the vampires, you know, they want to come to get because they need it, you know. And what if instead of doing good, you attract those kind of conscience that they really need, or they'll be there with you, you know? That's my question. Is there any risk for that or not, that it happens?
Probably this will happen if you get in touch with someone that's not so good at that time. It's just like I can think about the person and exteriorize my energies to this person that I had contact in my day. Okay? When I do it and exteriorize my energies to this person, if this person had another conscience with this person that's not okay, it can come to my side.
Mm-hmm.
If this happens, I'll be happy.
Because you're going to help.
That's it.
Yeah, I think I had this fear, but now that I do the penta, I think if it happens, I'll bring to my penta, right? Is that right?
No, I'm gonna try to solve it at that time, not at penta.
Okay, you solve it straight away.
Yes. Why should I wait the next day penta?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But you know,
like,
Alexander, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, it's like a 24-hour penta, like the proactivity, the habit, the ability to handle what's in front of you multidimensionally grows. And so, yeah, why wait? You know, so
Yeah,
it's a natural step. Sorry,
yeah.
Marguerite, please. Go ahead.
I was just thinking about what Benoit questioned, and also what Silvana was talking about. And one thing I do is like, you know, because it's different for each of us. Because Alexander says, oh, I bring them and then I deal with them. But not all of us have this already training to do that. And sometimes what I do is like, I see how is my to sanity that day, how can I you know, hold a little bit of things or not, you know, because it's like it can be an inspiration, it can be a habit, and you're gonna have your own. I'm like, there's days that my toxicity is not good to exteriorize energy to anyone. So it's better if I close myself and try to deal with my things first. So it's about toxicity and training, I think. If you're training and you know, you have to risk sometimes, I think, Silvana. You know, sometimes we risk and then we come down. No, let me think again.
Yeah, I think because in the beginning, I really felt I could even hear, you know, it's like the room was full of people, you know, they were like fighting for energy, you know, and I had no preparation, no experience to deal. I didn't know how to deal with that. But then I was watching a video with Waldo Vieira, he mentioned that, oh, try to do in different times, you know, don't do the same time. He mentioned something like that.
Yes.
But I think that was a suggestion for people like me, you know, because I was starting this work with energy, and I had no preparation. So if I did that every time, and then it happened to me that the room was full of consciences, you know.
But one thing I think that's important, it's people sometimes, oh, I think someone's microphone is, okay. One thing that it's important, thinking about intruders, okay? Don't be so surprised to realize that there is an intruder close to you. Most people have intruders in the psychosphere, but they don't know. And they get afraid. And when they realize, now I'm feeling it, and get afraid of, you should think different. You should be happy when you realize that there is an intruder, because that's the opportunity you have to get without these intruders' interference in yourself.
Yeah.
The reality, right? The diagnosis is the best thing. The reality is the best diagnosis, and the more accurate you are in dealing with that.
But people sometimes get afraid to realize it.
Yeah, most
They
of people.
shouldn't be afraid. They should be happy.
Yeah.
Now I see. Now I feel good.
And also, I think that's the moment that you can acknowledge your own weak traits. So I think the fear comes from this. No, oh, I'm feeling that, but if I'm feeling that, how much I do have myself, and how can I overcome that? And it's quite the opposite. No, it's started to, okay, I want to be pet-free. Okay, so what should I do? I need to shake it up. I needed to interact with different energies, and I needed to place myself in a way that, okay, this is a weak trait. If you don't improve this, they will come up with this. No, I think that's the interesting thing about the assistance. And just going back a little bit, Alexander, 1994, you were there typing. I was in Curitiba waiting and had seen, because looking for the the book 700 Experience to be edited. And I remember when we used to go to the Congressamento, Professor Waldo would come with the papers, and then he'll come and cross, and we get that and to take to the classes, and we start to give the classes. So it was amazing. So that's it.
And what you were saying about the weak traits, that's why it's in the same chapter, this chapter about the attitudes for consciential epicentrism. He talks about don't ask for yourself your requests, the weak traits, to face it, and to exteriorize when he put the faces, to exteriorize to the people you have contact along the day.
It's actually a way to clean up, no, to address those conflicts, because the external conflicts reflect the internal conflict as well. So once we start to trigger those and start to exteriorize the energy, we can expand that connection with the past, but with us as well, with the trait that we need to work on. No, and we use our willpower. And you were talking before why these chapters here, because it's the root of everything we need to do in terms of pet-free. If we do not have a will, which actually it changes. No, one thing it is when you have all settled and you keep your routine, and sometimes you change it and you do other stuff, and you need to keep the willpower to keep your activities, your routine, and demand from you another level of energetic control and a less conflict with other people, with yourself. And so it grows, no? In layers. You're gonna grow in layers, no?
It's like that, and also that develops the refractability. And Benoit, I'm thinking a little bit of of the discussion we've been having in the chat window in response to your question. There's and also exactly in that chapter, Mashika, which you just mentioned there, chapter 671, I wanted to read the first paragraph there because it's one of those paragraphs that has always stuck in my mind over all the years. So evolution, a consciential principle, sleeps as a rock, dreams as a vegetable, agitates itself as a subhuman, awakens as a Homo sapiens, and becomes multidimensionally aware as a Homo projectus, so someone who has out-of-body experiences with lucidity, and truly purifies themselves as a Homo sapiens serenissimus. And so, you know, all the experiences in our day-to-day life, it's like when we get agitated or irritated, if we look at our multi-existential history and the evolutionary process, we're acting a bit more like a subhuman animal than we are as a Homo sapiens or as someone who's more aware of things. And so all the experiences we have in our day-to-day, we can't fight them. Just sort of carrying on from Anapola's point, it's not about fighting those things. It's about just dealing with the reality as it is, engaging with it, and not allowing ourselves to be irritated. But that's not in a in a repressed kind of a way, like not repressing things, but just slowly refining our own ability to handle less pleasant experiences in a better way. So retraining, understanding more deeply ourselves and the things around us and the like, you know, so then with time we end up with better results, i.e. personal evolution. So I just wanted to share that and sort of try to tie it in with a few things.
And when I was saying about that you should be happy if you realize that there is an intruder in your psychosphere, or and not be afraid. This is interesting because I use the prod, as Jeffrey asked about the prod. We had now the main phrase from DAC, or Dictionary of Arguments of Conscientiology. It's on page 188 that Waldo says, intimate homeostasis stems not from the facts, but from the interpretations and reactions that we offer to them. And this make all difference. It's not the fact in sí. It's how we react. It's what you understand from that fact that changes everything.
And Alexander, this, the base, it's your will. Because with your will, you decide, am I gonna see this from a half empty glass or a full empty glass? So, you know, a half full or half empty glass. That's my decision. And that's my will. And sometimes, because the emotional process is so overwhelmed, someone might think, oh, I have no choice how I will interpret or look at that event, no? And I think that's where will makes a big difference, no?
Yeah.
And that that is what I was saying before, that sometimes we believe that we can't do something. Yes, that we haven't enough power to do something, and this is. I think these chapters are, again, an invitation to open our mind and to change our self-concept, for example, and to, of course, there is a process, yeah, but sometimes we believe I can't do this. But if we use our willpower, we are able to do this. In this way, it's an invitation to try to change our a way to see the situation or our condition.
Yeah, and to
In this
apply,
way, I think.
and to apply in ourselves the principle of disbelief. No, because we are applying the principle of disbelief in every single experience we have. So in that moment, you start to doubt your own principles. What is that? What are you talking about? No, you apply in yourself the principle of disbelief. No,
Exactly,
I
Anna.
say that I can't do something until I try.
Try to do before. Try to do before. Okay. Of course, we have some limits, but before we say I can't do it, this is not for me. Try before to see and to observe the results, and then you can say, oh, I can do, or I can do in a certain level, what I can do to be better, to improve this condition in this way.
Yes, what do I need to improve? What do I need to develop? What are the things that I need to apply myself to get to the point I can do it? No? And I think that's exactly the self-diagnose.
I agree what you said, Regina, and I think that's okay. And this brings me to the chapter 676, Experience of a Permanent Free Being. And I think this chapter, it's important to understand that sometimes, and that's something that doing PROAD and being with different groups over the last 7 years, some concepts or preconcepts that I had about the intrusion-free, they were gone. And I start to think, to understand it a little more. I think so, I hope so, that I did it. And realize that even the intrusion-free is a process. So when you read this chapter, the first thing it's Waldo says is eliminations, permanent free being, little by little over 1 to 2 decades, completes their intimate purification, accomplish the elimination of 6 undesirable consciential conditions such as, and then he lists all of these conditions. And what's interesting is that this invites to change yourself, to get better, and it is a process. You have like 2 decades to change, to make all of these changes, one by one, little by little, but you go day by day.
And also related to that is in the middle of chapter 682, at the end of paragraph number 5 there, he puts this comment: a human's highest achievement is to transcend the forces that shape their physical life. You know, and a lot of those items listed there in chapter 676 are exactly, a lot of them introphysical societal things, but also a lot of internal, personal, innate weak traits and so on. So that's the key, right? To transcend those things, to put them in their right place, to interpret them in a way which liberates you from them, as opposed to subjugates you or makes you somewhat of a slave to certain behaviors we ourselves may be generating, or that society is saying is the way, this is how it goes, this is positive, or this is normal. You know, like how does society define success, for example? It's usually in terms of money. It's not in terms of assistance. Imagine if we started defining success as how much assistance does your job provide, you know? If you look at it like that, someone who cleans the streets can be more important than a banker, as an example. Could be. Not all bankers and not all people who clean the streets, but in certain cases, absolutely, it could be. So about making it personal, isn't it? Individual, the process for you individually to become that consciential epicenter, for you to become, and that's not something, just to be clear for everyone, because within Conscientiology there are epicons, right? There's people who have a role within the group that they're an epicon, but that's not a limiting factor. Like all of us living overseas and having different experiences, we can be a consciential epicenter in our own way. And so just to sort of feel free to, I suppose, engage in certain challenges, which maybe, as Regina was mentioning, we don't necessarily feel we have the confidence or education or ability to do, but if we engage in the exercise, we often make the progress required to really fulfill those roles and do those things and be effective in the assistance. So sort of, it was one of the things I hope to achieve today, was to stimulate people to assume the challenges of becoming a permanent free person, so being intrusion free. Is this something that you guys want and have public sort of, or personally said to yourself that that's an objective that you have? Is that something that you guys have done?
Yes, I've done that. I think it was my first or second advanced one as a teacher, as a student, back in Belo Horizonte in 19, I don't know how. But yes, I put as my goal, and in Curitiba, my goal is do pet-free. And from that moment on, my life went nuts. It went, the things that happened as a result of that was very interesting. And I like when Alexander said it's a process, because each of us, we are singular, we are consciousness in evolution, but each of us, we have a background, multi-existential background. We have a group that we need to assist. We have a work that we need to do. As a group, we combine our strong traits and we go together, but each of us, we have our things that we need to do. And it was interesting. When I put, and nowadays I look some aspects that I still have to improve to get to that point of absolutely pet-free. And now I'm tackle that. And you're talking about the 1 year technique. Now I found the next year I'm gonna work on that. Because when I work in that point, all the rest will settle. But I only was able to get to that point because the experiences I had so far. And so it's an interesting process that we look, and because we in Conscientiology have a set of evolutionary ideas that we can apply in ourselves, we tend to compare to others and tend to think that our history needs to be the same, we need to do that and that the same. But it's not like this. We all have strong traits. We mirror that strong trait of that person, but not necessarily the story, the history, or what that person is doing. And when you talk with that person, they say, oh, I got to that point because that experience, I got to here. And you get this idea of a process, of a progression in the peel off the layers of an onion. I love that, the idea of peel the onions, the layers of onion, because that's how you look at the phases or the things you need to peel off until you get to that point that the bottleneck, or what's the idea should be, you know?
Yeah, that's interesting, because I was thinking about what to do, because I think it's different to everyone. And I was thinking about, for me, the weak trait that I have to overcome is energy. So yeah, it's like several times we know that energy is something important, but I think I realized that that for me is not that it comes from outside, because people say, you know, one thing is other people saying to you that energy is the way. And the other thing is like when you perceive that you need that, you really perceive that you need energy to get to that point. And so it's interesting. And I think the little by little, no, is about, for me now, it's about energy. I don't know if I'm gonna be, when I'm gonna be pet free or, you know, intruder free, but I know that it's one step I want to go to get it. And another thing I want to talk about is like in the chapter 682, test of your evolutionary consciousness. There is the point 3 that is pre-permanent free, no? Pre, you know. When a superior pre-permanent free rational human animal discover the condition of lucid permanent freeness, they desire to be, as quick as it is possible, a conscious permanent free being, which one day will end up becoming on their evolutionary path, which everything indicates is interminable. I don't know. Anyway, the thing is like I highlight that, and I think it comes with this this whole thing we are talking about. Is about if you taste it a little bit, maybe you see the importance, because it's theory in practice is, you know, you have to have a taste to know, wow, I want that.
Yeah, I think, Magali, that this is very important because it talks about this experimentation and to evolve and try to evolve, always thinking about what's the next, because sometimes we get used to what we have in that's what we call the comfort zone. Isn't it in English the same? So, and this is it's for us not to be in this comfort zone. Oh, my life, it's okay right now. Everybody knows me. I'm a good person. So I'll be the way I am right now. That's a mistake, in my opinion.
Curiosity,
So,
right?
what?
Curiosity.
Gabriela syndrome.
Yeah, that's it. Gabriela syndrome. People in Brazil knows this syndrome that we call.
Yes.
Why they don't know this?
I'm not sure if Jeff knows, but we know.
It's staying in the comfort zone,
Yes.
right? Not challenging themselves.
Yeah, I'm this way and I'm fine, you know, and then I'm this way. I do it, but because I am this way, and then you never change, you know. That's Gabriela's syndrome.
And at the chapter 683, he puts here, curiosity. I have an insatiable, practical, selective, and healthy curiosity. So it's to get out from comfort zone, I have to be curious about life. I have to be curious about the experience. I can expose myself and find my weak traits, strong traits. No, it has to be insatiable. No, I like that. I go. No, and the comfort zone, it's.
And one thing that I think that's important in these experimentations is to evaluate the results of your experimentations, because it's not one problem about to have the willpower is sometimes you do what you want, but sometimes the results, they're not okay. So you have to use your willpower, but you have to see the results if they are really okay. If they are, that's it.
The qualification of the results, the impact that you have in yourself and in your productivity, because otherwise having the experience for the sake of having experience. But
So
if
you have to compare the results with the cosmoethic.
Well, based on this kind of result, that's point that caught my attention is how we can deal with our self-conflict. I think one of the key points about the holy process, because you know what I mean. You told about the intruders. Every day we deal with we interact with different people, intraphysical, extraphysical. That's why it caught my attention, because different level of evolution. So it's a great opportunity to do self-research. I think one of the key points, because not only about we can donate energy, but a chance to we can research more about by myself, by yourselves. So for me, it's interesting because we talk about the permanent freedness. And that's why, for me, it's a key point, how we can deal with our internal conflict, because we interact with different level of evolution. Sometimes we're stuck because, you know, sometimes some people are very anti-ethical, and we have some values, and how we can deal with this kind of situation.
Yes. João, I think that at the chapter 675, OFX or Extraphysical Office, at the 5, peace, the position of an upcoming is to be an undoubtedly cosmoethical, loyal anchor for the extraphysical team. And when he write about this, to be a peace and loyal to the extraphysical team, I think about our choices, everyday choices, okay? And I think that's about what you're saying, the conflicts, the self-conflicts. I want to do something, but is it good or bad? I like someone, but this person doesn't like me. I have, well, we have different internal conflicts, okay? And what sometimes helps me, it's when I think my decision in about to do what to do right now puts me closer or apart me, or makes me far away from this extraphysical team. This helps me to make the choice. What I'm doing in my life. I know that things are not so easy like this, only this, but it's a way that helps me to make the choice.
Yeah, it's good.
Can I compliment? Can I compliment? What I try to use to deal with this situation, for example, I try to be loyal to my values, for example. So
Right.
I know my values, for example, cosmoethics. I know that my cosmoethic is not so well. I am improving this, trying to improve this every day. So, but I try to use the best that I can, my cosmoethic level nowadays. Or it means I try to respect my values. And João, I try not to. I am working on this in my self-consciential therapy, for example, not to expect nothing for the others. Yes, because sometimes when we expect that something should act in this way, or should do this thing, or in this way, or in this direction, and people people don't do in a way we are expecting, so we are frustrated. So I think this is a lesson that it's important to learn for me, that we try not to have expectations from others, from outside, but in the same way, we try not to be self-corrupt in our values. We try to be the most loyal with our values. You understand what I mean? It was clear?
Yeah, for sure. No, I just came about to...
So only to finish, because so I tried, I bring the responsibility for me, yes, but not as a, I put the responsibility that I should do my best.
Yeah, sure.
This is important for me. This is a value also for me. Trying to do my best is also a value.
Yeah, I just wrote this topic. It's kind of struggle topic because not easy for anyone. And so, I mean, we are talking about the paradigm, the conscientiology paradigm that we need to put in practice. So, I mean, on a regular basis, we need to understand how we can deal with this kind of situation. So, I mean, it's not easy. Yeah, I would like to call attention because, I mean, I live abroad, so different cultures, different kind of person, different reactions. Yeah, that's why I brought this topic, because theoretically we can understand everything, but in the practice, how you can deal with the sentiments, your thoughts, your energies. So it's a chance to understand better our behavior. That's how I brought the topic.
I remember when I moved abroad in 1999. I moved to Buenos Aires and then other many countries. But I remember once I came back to XXXIX and I spoke with Professor Waldo. I asked him in a synthesis, what do I need to be aware every single minute of my life while I'm out there, because you are by yourself, basically, intraphysically. You have a team, astrophysical, XXXIX. Little by little, we have the team. But I used to ask him, it's different, you are among a group and the holotoscene is so strong. And when I go out from that, what do I need to do? You need to create your field, your energetic field, he said. But basically, what you need to look, it is cosmoethics, interassistancy. That's it. And if you have a value of cosmoethics, and throughout these 25 years or 27, I look at, I improved that. And nowadays, if I say something immediately, I know when I'm not doing correctly, independently the culture where I am, with who I am having contact with, because what bonds us is our cosmoethics. What is the respect that we have for each other is cosmoethics, independently which dimension and which culture, with different cultural backgrounds and so on, and the language we are speaking. And I help, it is, when he said that to me, I put this as my goal. That's the cosmetics. Am I being cosmetics with my extra-physical code, my extra-physical procedures, coherent to my extra-physical procedures? And then you go, and this will improve because it makes us stronger and connect with the extra-physical help. I might say, if you do that, you are being cosmetics. No, you need to put your hand, and as I think Regina said, our values, they will change. You see some things maybe in our culture, it's taken for granted, people accept. You look in other culture, it's unacceptable. And you see, this is more coherent. Like in Brazil, there is a exploitation of people. It's actually naturalized. But in another place, no way. You as employee, you have your points. You need to have the thing clearly. The person has overtime, you pay, and there is a different relation. And sometimes you get that from your cultural background, but when you come and say, no, that's not, and then incorporate that. Yes, this is disrespect of the human nature or the human rights, or, you know, and so it's a very interesting process that we go through. But I think Professor Valdez, that's one of the things he said to me that helped me a lot, and it still helps a lot.
This understanding and accepting of differences is really interesting, you know, like sometimes we can think we've got a little bit of an understanding of something, and then another thing happens and we're a little bit agitated again because it wasn't what we expected or whatever. But the understanding, like really understanding of another person's way of thinking, even your partner, right, which can be so different. It takes an ongoing effort, and then you add different cultures and different things into the mix. It's not a little thing, and that's evidenced by, look, how many conflicts do we have on the planet, right? And
there is a principle
and between groups.
Yeah, I think is linked to that principle of I'm not sure how to translate admiração, discordância.
Yeah, admiration, disagreement.
Yeah, so when you use that principle, you know, the other person can be completely different from other culture, and you have that you live with, like, every day. In my case, I deal with people from completely different cultures, and their values are different, but it's that principle that helps you to have a good relationship with so many differences, you know.
Yeah.
Like respect,
there is one
right?
thing I see about cosmetic, because it's not easy, because it's about multidimensionality, cosmovision, and sometimes you see that maybe that person is behaving totally in your point of view. It's not cosmoetic, but I saw that many times with a consciousness that we all know, that is Professor Waldo Vieira, how sometimes he protects someone, or protect, but doesn't expose someone that is anti-cosmoetic in some ways, and why that person in that case is cosmoetic to do that, and the other person, he doesn't give one little, you know. So it's difficult to talk about cosmoetic. Your cosmoetic depends of your cosmovision, your multidimensionality, you know, and that is why we have to put a lot of things in place to be cosmoetic. No, we have the level of cosmoetic of our evolution. No?
Guys, só um pouquinho, just 1 minute. I would like to say goodbye to all of you. I sent a message there. Thank you so much for the great discussion. Nice to see you, Alexander. Nice to see all of you guys. Now I'm gonna get there to my other work. Okay? See you guys. Big hug and best energies. Ciao, ciao.
Thanks.
Ciao.
Bye.
Okay, but Magali, when you're saying about the cosmoetic, I think that, again, we need to watch the results. If what you are doing and you still feeling your helpers' energy, they are with you, it seems it's because what you're doing, it's okay. Because if you even trying to be cosmoetic, but you're not, these helpers, they are gonna stay away from you. So that's why we have always to have this multidimensional awareness and try to understand and to feel more about the energies. That's why about when the strong traits of the intrusion-free person being is the vibrational state, because you're going to feel it more, you're going to understand more about what's around you. And the result of your acts, and if you feel the helpers still with you, it's because you're doing okay.
That's good. And can I make a question and bring another chapter? Is the 693 researcher on Homo sapiens serenissimus, and I think has to do what you're saying. The number 13, hyperacuity. A conscience only attains the condition of the serenism through hyperacuity, no? So what do you think? It's because you're saying that is the hyperacuity is about to you know, get those that tip that you're giving, Alexander. I think is so important, because if we pay attention, we can feel that the helpers is not there anymore. But it has to deal with this strong trait of hyperacuity, I think, in my view. So I don't know what you guys.
I have a question in this matter as well. I think it's a bit a silly question, but I'm always curious because I remember once Jeff mentioned that there would be a Serenissimus here in Australia. And it's a question for Jeff. Do you think, Jeff, is there any possibility that this person could come as an Aborigine? Or it's out of like question, like it's not, it would be not possible, because Aborigines, they look more like primitive people, you know? So
Yeah,
would
sometimes
would
they
a
do.
yeah, would a Serenissimus?
I don't see any issue in that being a problem at all. I think the main point is what's going to help them achieve the objectives they have more. If it's coming as an Aboriginal, no problem. If it's coming as a European looking person, no problem. So it's more tied to, I would think, to the objectives that they're trying to achieve in terms of the assistance.
Yeah, and what would be here in Australia? Do you think, what would be the objective? Do you have any idea?
So the case, you know, the series of synchronicities and the moment that I had those years ago when I started to have some parapsychic intuitions and orientations around identifying a region. Literally, physically, I was there. And like around the Hervey Bay region in Australia, so about 4 hours north of Brisbane, where you are, Silvana. I started to, you know, for everyone just to share it again, you know, I was driving down a road, and there had been things previously, but I was driving down a road, and I had an extra physical intuition, the idea, take the next left. It wasn't on my route to where I was going, but I took the next left. And it's a normal residential street, but there was a massive big sign on the side of the road down by a building. There was nothing else, just houses and normal stuff otherwise. And in big letters was serene, like sereno, the word. And I was like, what? And so even now when I'm explaining this again or telling the story again, I have a shower of energy. So based on that, I started to reflect more and try to understand, well, what do we think, or what do I think that Serenissimus is connected with and trying to do? Because we want to try to understand, well, what is the objective of those consciousnesses? And we know the tasks are high level and an impact on many millions. And around there, I even ended up coming up with the name Pluralis. So the nickname to call the consciousness Corralis, because of what? Because of the coral reef. So the Great Barrier Reef, just off of where that region is right. It starts there and then goes up for thousands of kilometers, and that's the largest living organism and the most complex living organism on Earth, the Great Barrier Reef. And so I started thinking, yeah, it's more like, it seems to be more like with the oceans and with the Great Barrier Reef and the like. So that's that was where I started to think, just hypothesizing and thinking, and maybe some extra physical intuitions around what is that Serenissima working with. And likewise, it's interesting to note here in Australia, a unique thing is around the very long, very old civilization that exists, which you already mentioned, Silvana, like the Aboriginals here. They've had a continuous civilization here for 60,000 years, which is a massive, massive period of time. And so their understanding, the way they interpret things, which is another massive part of these sections as well, is how are you interpreting your reality? How are you dealing with it? They deal with energies. They deal with extra physical consciousnesses. They deal with a lot of those things in a way which is way more advanced than us white fellas do, right? So we're starting to try to learn and be more scientific, but they already have that knowledge innately in their culture. So, you know, I think just maybe helping them to 60,000 years is a lot of reinforced holothosines and behaviors and traditions and ways of doing stuff. So maybe helping those consciousnesses reurbanize and update might also be another way or another important task which we have here, because what do we see with reurbanization? Older things, more archaic things get changed, get updated, get modified in some way, start becoming, you know, slightly different, becoming the focus of attention and the like. So it could well be another thing. And maybe just last idea before I be quiet again is maybe things to do like Australia as a continent. It has like 18 of the most dangerous insects, animals on the planet. 18 out of the top 20 are here in Australia. And so also that's something, if you look about improving the harmony and the ability to interact and live harmoniously with your environment, those kind of animals will probably stop having existences on planets at some stage, right? There'll be a moment where it's incompatible with the holothosine of that place. And so it's interesting that Australia is so intense and condensed around those kinds of animals and things as well. So maybe there's something there going on which is bigger than my brain can contemplate properly or more fully, but maybe those kinds of activities. So just a few thoughts to share.
Yeah, and Australia also helps all the, like those islands, Pacific Islands.
Pacific
I
Islands
think it
as well,
helps.
correct.
Yeah.
Yep. So this thing of serenity and Serenissimus, right? And just anyone else, we're sort of down to the last 10, 12 minutes or so. So please, if anyone's got any other questions, please do feel free to take the opportunity.
Yeah. One thing about Serenissimus is, I think that about the cosmoetic and why it has this anonymate, it's really because we wouldn't understand his acts, the way they help us, we wouldn't understand. So it's a lot better to be in anonymate for them.
And these chapters contain some really interesting ideas around that, you know, like they've solved their own history. So we talked about conflict a little bit today and solving conflict ideally, right? And an intimate conflict, internal conflict. They've solved their own history. There's none of that conflict. It doesn't exist anymore. So if there's no internal conflict, there's no external conflict. And I can just say a few times that I've connected really strongly with the holothosines of Serenissimus. This structural and deep idea of not having any need to think bad about anything or anyone is so present. It's the main characteristic that has struck me on those occasions where I've really felt very connected to those types of consciousnesses, that it's just such a strong thing. And even the other day, just as a little example, I was here just starting Penta, and outside the dogs started barking, and they were continuing. There's a couple of dogs barking, and I was thinking about Serenissimus, and then the moment that the idea Serenissimus came more strongly in my mind, the energy sort of went, and in that exact second, the dogs just stopped. And I was like, oh, that's funny. You know, like it was just another example of that homeostasis, that serenity, that tranquility, which is they're just naturally diffusing. It's just there. And there's no effort, there's no conflict, there's no force, it's just naturally there. So it's like the strength of serenity, the force of what serenity is. Just in a little funny little example, but a real one, you know, a real one.
Yeah, I have one example that was really interesting for me also. Back to maybe 1997, 6, I don't remember right now what year this was, but Waldo was thinking about different Serenissimus, and he, at that time, the IIPC had some classes in the south of Minas Gerais state, a place called Três Pontas, okay? And Waldo said that around that place there was a Serenissimus, but one Serenissimus, there was a kid, maybe around 16 years at that time, and he was in the beginning of being a Serenissimus. So he didn't let Waldo know who he was because he was afraid to be discovered, to Waldo know where he lived and things like that. So one day I was at a barber's place to cut, I was cutting my hair in a place. The street was small and with a lot of birds, and the kids were playing around the streets, and a lot of noise. And then I began to start to feel the energy was changing, and Waldo was traveling to that place physically to a class he would have there. And it was around 5 p.m., something like that, because I remember that was real clear. And suddenly the energy changed. The birds got quiet. The kids got quiet. The whole street got quiet. And there was a peaceful feeling that I had. And what was real nice, it's because when Waldo came back from his trip, he said that at that time, he stopped the cars because there were 2 or 3 cars going with him in the road. He stopped the cars and said, Phil, this is the Serenissimus energy. He's around here. And so that happened. What Waldo felt when he was traveling was at the same time that I felt that. That was real nice. I think that was maybe the closest experience I had with a Serenissimus. Wow.
There's one that just came to mind. I remember the day I was presenting that to Julia, so Verbage, an entry in the encyclopedia, and it was about de-repression. And it was the main thing I've studied in this life. It's always a thing for me to study and write about. But it was tough, like extra physically, mate, it was hard. And the night before was very disturbed. I woke up in the morning. Normally things are better by the morning, clean things, but it was still disturbed. And he was doing a mini tertulia that day, and he said, there's 3 Serenissimus here today. And I was like, I just sort of connected the dots a little bit between the real heavy work that I was having to try to, you know, get there to defend the verbage. And he read out, oh, and today the verbage will be, you know, Jeffrey Lloyd and consciential de-repression. And he looked at it, he goes, oh, tough one, eh? And I was like, yeah, mate, like it's heavy. So this is the thing though, but his sensitivity, so this is the whole point about parapsychic development, sensitivity with energies, awareness, the hyperacuity, which Margalie, you brought. So fundamental. And I think it's too easy. It's very easy to ignore that and to disregard things, but pay attention, take notes, research, study, see. Does anyone else have any experiences they'd like to share or any questions before we?
Can I share my experience? Good morning, everyone. First time talking. How are you, Alexander? Long time I don't see you, huh?
Yeah.
Well, I had an experience back in 2013 when I was at XXXIX. I was at a volunteer conference, the IIPC volunteer conference that used to take place, you know, before the pandemics. There was the tertulia going on, the mini tertulia going on, when all of a sudden, Waldo, at the time, he comes up with the news. Well, Monja has just shown up here. So I'm gonna exteriorize my energy so that everyone can feel it, you know? And so he started doing, I don't know if you guys who lived in Foz do Iguaçu ever had such a great experience with Waldo, just like that, because once in a while he would do this thing, yeah. And so that was my first time, you know, living this experience, and it was so remarkable because every time I think about it, every time it simply crosses my mind, I can feel, you know, this a similar sensation, not as intense as before, but anyhow, it's just neat to think about this situation, and I can feel like an automatic vibrational state coming in place, and my environment changes completely. But at the time, the experience was very interesting because Monja was conducting a service, an extra physical work, along with 2 important helpers at XXXIX that were responsible, in charge of the garden. I don't remember their names, but interestingly, you know, she was there helping somehow, supporting them with that kind of assistance. And I was very glad to feel the sensation of that, you know, of the things that we usually read on, you know, on books, such as it's kind of undescribable, but I'll try to describe my sensations, you know, that I had at a time. I felt, you know, no bad feelings at all. I mean, everything was positive. Everything was, you know, it's hard to describe. How am I gonna put words in this case? So just thinking about this situation, you know, my environment here changes completely. It's interesting, but everything was very positive. There was every problem was very small. There's no drama in anything. Everything was easy to be solved. I don't know if you share the same sensations, but this is what I felt at the time. That it was a very, you know, interesting learning experience, so that every time I need to think about solution, a very complex solution, maybe this is a technique that I bring in to my manifestation in order to de-dramatize, you know, the conflicts and those hard issues to be solved and so on. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very,
Yes,
very similar to the experience I had there as well. Just to reinforce your
to evoke this sensation, this pattern, this quality pattern. Yeah, that's,
we should feel free
nice.
to do that, right? We should do that more. I should do that more frequently. I'm assuming we all should do that more frequently, right? Like consciously evoke that pattern and feel free to. I think sometimes I feel too inhibited, and I know other people have already said to me that sometimes they feel too inhibited to do that. And like, you know, we should, I think, remember that. That's nice. Did you want to add something else there?
I agree about to evoke this kind of energies, but I think that we should evoke this with a purpose, not to banalize. Is it banalize the feeling? So if it is for you to get close to the helpers, to this Serenismus holotocin, and make your changes, I think that's okay.
Yeah, that's important, right? Like to apply it, have some use. Otherwise,
it's not only for me to feel good. It's not only for, oh, that was a tremendous sensation. It was real good sensation.
Be like a junkie with like, you know, addicted to some drug. Like, no, do something useful, constructive with it. Yeah, like inspirations for writing, for research, for self-understanding, for doing de-intrusion, reducing conflict in certain situations or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
Well noted, yeah.
Be true about yourself to understand your conflicts and try to solve them, to be a better person in different ways. Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so great discussion, everybody. Unfortunately, we have come to the end. I want to thank the facilitators tonight, Alexander and Jeffrey. Thank you for all of you to be here today, and thank you for all of those who have participated with us for the whole year. And even if you joined us for just a few meetings or you're joining us offline, please do continue the discussion. We will keep the forum on the website open. So, you know, please continue to post your questions and someone will be there monitoring it. And also we wanted to invite you, we're going to send out a survey, and this is going to help us to plan for our next book. So please have your say, please give your feedback on the format, what you liked, what you didn't like. And yeah, let's continue the work and let's continue studying together. It's been a great year. Thank you, everybody. Magali, would you like to say anything?
If you can, Michiko, there is a last phrase in this book, and I think that phrase is so important, the message that Professor Waldo says. So Michiko, you that have a good English, could you read for us?
Sure, Magali. So it's chapter 700, our very last chapter, the ideal formula of conscientiology. And he says, greeting to candidates for the execution of this evolutionary work, my fraternal greetings. Welcome aboard. I wish you success within cosmoethical immediatism, hic et nunc. I look forward to seeing you inverters, recyclers, completists, maximoratores, and permanent free beings as soon as possible, to the delight of us all. So it's a great way to end.
To end the book and to end our experience of that year. So thank you, everyone. And we wish to see you next year in the next books.
Thanks, everyone. All the best.